laughter is really important. Sometimes I forget, and it's something like the pandemic reminded me, or, you'll get a letter at the Groundlings that's like, you know, I lost my mom, and the last thing my mom and I did together out in public is we came to your show and we laughed so hard at that thing you wrote about. And it's moments like that when you go, oh, we're not just idiots. I mean, we are idiots, but it's important.
But there's beauty and love and laughter in that idiocy. Hi there and welcome to the show. So glad you're with us. I am going to tell you, we are going to have a little fun today. My guests are from the Groundlings, the renowned improvisational and sketch comedy troupe. This is so cool for me. Since it began back in 1974, the Groundlings have really imprinted on pop culture. Think about it. TV, movies, on the web. Dozens of famous people have had their start, of course, at the Groundlings. Melissa McCarthy, my birthday twin. Kristen Wiig, Maya Rudolph, the list goes on. One of my producers dabbled in acting and in improv, and she pointed out that improv encourages, yes, of course, spontaneity and imagination, but also collaboration and communication, things that can help transform us in everyday life. So we decided to invite a couple Groundlings on the show today to see for ourselves. Please welcome to the show from the Groundlings, Patty Guggenheim and Allison Dunbar. What a joy to be with both of you. Wait, which way? We got to point out who's who. Allison, raise your hand. People know you, of course, from Two Broke Girls. Patty, most recently on She-Hulk, attorney at law. Hey, girl, hey. What a joy to have you here.
We're so excited to be here, Michaela. Thanks for having us.
Well, why don't we start with the groundwork? One of you can maybe lay out the some of the basic tenets of improv. What are the important things that people need to know about improv?
Well, I think the first things that we learn is that it's all about being in the spirit of collaboration with other people. I mean, you can't do this alone. You have to really listen and get tuned in with your scene partner, and you have to yes and whatever they put out there, meaning show that I heard you and now I'm going to add on to that.
And it doesn't mean you have to agree with what they're saying. It just means you are taking it in, understanding, and adding to it.
Acknowledging.
So you're not,
right.
Yes, acknowledging. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, like I may not agree with what you said, but I agree that we are on the same page. We're in the same world.
Fair.
Same
Got it.
planet. We're talking about the same thing. But sometimes it's fun to play like you're on a different planet, and I do that a lot. Also, listening is a huge part of it. So it's also what we like to teach, and what our friend talks about is like listening to understand instead of listening to respond. So as we are listening here, we're not just like queuing up what we're going to say next. We're actually taking what someone's saying, understanding it, processing it, and then bringing back with what you want to collaborate with.
That requires a fair amount of like in the moment brain work.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we were talking about. That's the best part about improv, is that it really clicks you into being in the present, because you can't be thinking about the last thing that was said. You can't be thinking, what am I going to say down the line? You have to just dial yourself into the people that you're with. So it's kind of a really beautiful place to create from.
And you I just occurred to me too, is you can't think about trying to be funny at all. Like you just can't.
I actually think the funniest stuff comes when you're not trying to be funny. You're just sincerely trying to pay off what you say. We get up and we do a scene like you guys are at Gold's Gym. All I'm thinking about is, okay, what's available to me at Gold's Gym? What kind of person am I if I hang out at Gold's Gym? And what would we be concerned with? Nothing about it is trying to say something funny. Like that's what makes a good improv scene.
Okay, so yes, and listen. And then what are other things?
You have to really care. It's kind of ineffective if you wind up playing a character that doesn't care about where they are or what's going on.
We really like to focus on, we call it labeling, but like if I see my scene partner, like giving them gifts instead of just like focusing on what you're doing. I don't know if this is a tenet of it, but it's part of what we teach, is like we're not so focused about what's going on with us. We're also like bringing in our scene partner and what's going on with them. So you can label them and say, like, oh, you decided to wear your see-through dress today.
So no, but it makes sense because it's really about projecting outwards instead of making this story about me, the experience that I'm having, the character I've just created. It's really about setting up, being a good teammate.
It's what makes doing improv so fun with each other because we're really depending on one another when we're on stage.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, we have to tell that story together. So
Mm.
your eyes are locked in and you're working really hard. I was saying to someone recently, it's why, like, after a show, you feel so bonded with people. You feel like you just spent a week at sleepaway camp with them because you really like, you were
You've been in it
depending on each
together.
other for survival and to thrive. And that's a fun feeling to connect that
Yeah.
I
deep.
love that. And can you make any
Yeah.
mistakes in this? Like, is there anything you shouldn't be doing, or is like you do something wrong, you get to a dead end?
I mean, you know, yeah, I guess technically there are rules that, you know, you shouldn't do, but I think you just try and get in the mindset of like there are no mistakes and whatever you do, I'm going to have your back and I'm going to make that like, yep, she meant to say that. Yeah, she's talking about a see-through dress and yeah, that's what I am wearing because you know what? I'm tired of sunscreen and I just wanted to get a tan while I work.
I love this. Okay, so instead of me talking about it, can you guys give us an example? Like, go ahead. Let's just go there. Let's do a little improv class.
Patty, do you
Yeah.
want to do you want to do a yes and?
A yes and. Yeah. So we teach this in our basic class, which is just the tenet of yes anding. So that's all we can do in this exercise.
Okay.
So we would be sitting toe to toe, looking at each other in the eyes, and we would just start with this exercise. Okay. Shall we?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Yesterday, you went to the bank.
Yes, I did, and I had a lot of cash money in my purse.
Yes. And you put that that sack of cash right on top of the register.
Yes, I did, and I was surprised they had a register at the bank. That seems strange, like, am I at Ralph's or am I at a bank?
Yes. And you realized that this was a kind of an old-timey bank.
Yes, and I thought, "Well, this is the place for me because 'cause I'm an old-timey gal." I mean, I still roll with cash.
Yes. And you relished in your big old cowboy boots about the bank that you stumbled upon today.
Mhm, yep, and I dug my feet deeper into my cowboy boots, and I tipped my 10-gallon hat, and I said, "Howdy, ma'am. Do I have a treat for you?"
Yes. And she said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. Is this all $2 bills?"
And I yes, and I said, "Well, yes, it is, because I'm a gambler and I'm always lucky." You know, and
Yes.
so on and so
Yeah,
on and
This
and
so
is
it
on.
could go
amazing,
on
but
and
what I
on.
just saw you do is that you like it builds off of each other and it also validates the other person's story. But what I also realize it's also potentially throwing your partner for a loop. Like you can cause each other to break, I bet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that
That's kind of
happens
the
quite a
fun of
bit.
improv is messing with one another.
Is just trying to
Yes.
get there and make them right. Oh, this is
Yes.
fantastic. This is so amazing. So I want to talk a lot about your own voyages because I think it's really interesting to think about somebody who has, obviously you guys both have had the acting bug, the being on stage, making people laugh, being in comedy, etc. But to come to the Groundlings, it also shows that you wanted to do it a certain way, right? So I maybe Patty, we can start with you. How did you come to improv? How did it find you? What's your story, girl?
Well, I'm from Indianapolis and comedy capital of the world. Actually, it's not, but
Didn't know
there
that.
are
Thought
three.
Canada was.
It's not. But there are three groundlings from Indianapolis, which is kind of odd. Out of 30 people, there are three Indianapolis people. Isn't that wild,
That
Allison?
is actually.
You, Jay.
Me, Jay, and Chris Kleckner.
Oh, I
We
didn't
went to the
know
same high
that.
school.
Wow.
Yes,
A
I
hotbed of
know.
comedy. that high
It's a
school?
hotbed. I think it has to do with, like, there's, not a lot to distract you, so well, you're trying to make yourself you're entertaining yourself.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Gotcha.
So, I loved comedy, always, and I actually tried improv in high school, and it scared me so much that I didn't really pick it back up until I got to the Groundlings. It scared me. I was like, "What is this?" I don't know. It was just, like, overwhelming, I think. But I came
There's
out.
something about improv that asks you to be incredibly vulnerable. Was that it that scared
Yeah.
you?
Oh, for sure, for sure. I was like, "Give me a script and I'll play all day," but, like, making it up in the moment felt like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know what it was." I'm sure it was just this fear. But coming out to LA, I think that naturally, like, strips part of that. I'm like, "Okay, I'm here, I'm doing it," and then I had a friend to, like, drag me into the Groundlings, literally saying, "This is what you're gonna do." I picked up, like, a literal pamphlet, and I was like, "Oh," and I had heard about what it was. I was a big fan of Saturday Night Live always and all comedy, but, specifically, like, in college, my dad was like, "Check out SNL, the Target lady." Like, he was just, like, tuned in to, like, what I liked and,
Your first band.
my friend dragged me in and then I started and then it really took like a while for it to feel really comfortable for me, but then it just gets in your bones and you just I don't know, I love it. I love playing. I love the ensemble aspect. It's just like you get to be a kid and anything that like allows you to tap back into that energy is like sign me up because
I'm with you. I think that we adults forget the importance of play. And also, when do we have the opportunity when you're worried about, how often you're flossing and how much your mortgage bill is this month, right? Like, I get
yeah.
real life things come in the way of and get in the way of us wanting to access play. But you guys get to do that. And you're encouraging others by, and we'll talk about how people can get involved with improv classes, et cetera, in a second. But Allison, to you, I'm curious what your voyage was. Was it about accessing play? I mean, you seem like a really playful person yourself. Tell me about your road to the groundlings.
This is a little known fact. I'm also from an actor's Groundlings vortex. Um, Michaela Watkins, former Groundling, Kristen Wiig, and myself are all from the same area of upstate New York around the same time. So I think there's also a comedy vortex there.
There's something in the water in these places that should be studied. Somebody get on that.
Like
Because we can
chemicals.
bottle it.
But yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I I had no clue. I'm from a family of attorneys, and I had no idea. I knew I wanted to be an actor, but I didn't know how you do it. I actually bought a book called How to Be an Actor, and in the book, it told me to go to New York to study. So I went to school in New York, and then if I wanted to do TV, to move to LA, and I wanted to do TV.
Buy the book.
Yep. So I followed the book, and I came out to LA, and comedy wasn't actually my first. I never watched SNL as a kid. It just wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't on my radar. But at a certain point, I went to a show, and like Patty, I mean, I was enthralled and terrified. Like, how are these people doing this? Because to me, I mean, I'm a control freak. You know, I like to know what I'm gonna say, and I don't like to look like a jerk, even though I do a lot. And so improv was kind of like so scary, but once I got into it, it felt so good because I was actually tapping into a thing where I had to completely let go of control. And it's a thing, again, I always talk about the present moment, but it's Michaela because it's so seldom in our lives that we're truly just tapped into right now. It's why I love to dance because you're in the present moment when you dance. I think you're in the present moment when you improvise. And I think it's why we love animals and they're such a gift because,
Oh,
like
you're
how
only in the now.
they're only in the now, and that's why they teach us to stop and smell flowers because they sit in the moment, and I think that's a really beautiful place from which to live your life.
So it sounds like it has changed you, and I'm not even just talking about how it's changed you, on stage, but changed you as an individual, Allison.
Absolutely. I think it makes you open and it makes you adaptable. I mean, if you're someone like me who is probably pretty rigid, it really nice things, and that's why I say everybody should be taking improv class. Everyone should try this because we do get kind of encouraged in our life. Do it right, you know? And that whole thing that Patty was attesting to earlier about how I feel like I used to live my life when someone was talking to me, I was kind of listening, but I was also thinking about what am I gonna say back? Because I don't wanna look stupid. I wanna have an intelligent, rebuttal, and improv helps you let go of that stuff.
I couldn't love that more. Look, I'm gonna admit to you that I have a friend, um, Jennifer, I'm giving you a shout out on the podcast. She's a Gemini, and if we decide to go for dinner, she'll ask me where I want to go and then proceed to tell me 12 different options. And then as soon as I decide one, she'll give me 12 more. I need to have control. I'm that girl. I just am. I am trying to let go of that and go with the flow and be present and be more spontaneous because I see how beautiful life can be when you are in that space. I'm curious for you, Patty, what is improv brought out in you on a personal level? Not just again as an actor or on the stage, but how have you seen it shape who you are now?
It really changed my life because it teaches you that failure can turn into something magical. Like, literally, we experience that in every single scene, every single day, um, with our friendships that we've made there. Like, the things that feel scary to admit or scary to say out loud, like, you have people there who have your back immediately, who are there to, like, make that thing make sense or be funny. And it really, like, allowed me to come out of my shell and just not be afraid of, like, looking stupid, honestly, or not being afraid of saying something that might sound to me like silly, because then it's gone, it's here and then it's gone, and it doesn't exist anymore.
Or somebody might turn it into something magical because they did the yes and, right? Like you just never know. They take the thread and run with it. It's interesting. So I've been a journalist for 30 years and I early on people, when you're talking about finding ways to improve your on-air performance, oftentimes people suggest taking an improv class to help you. And I've suggested it to young people that are looking to sort of get over that hurdle of maybe just looking a little terrified on the air or looking worried or whatever, that improv will allow you to sort of shed some of those restrictions. Um, let's talk about some big things that you guys have been doing, not just within the school, because again, the school started in 1979, and there have been a litany of incredible people that have come out of it, and we'll talk about that again in a second. But you're also going to people, taking sort of the groundlings, the tenets of groundlings, to organizations, to corporations, to offsite retreats. This must be amazing.
I've taught improv to dentists,
Wait, what?
to plastic surgeons. I mean, which again, I always go, I mean, I do think improv is great for everybody, but when I think about plastic surgeons
How are they
improvising,
going to
I
use
feel a
that?
little nervous inside, but I mean, as
Do I want my dentist, like,
Let's
hey,
try
whatever
something.
happens, happens.
I'm here,
Yeah.
Zzz.
What are we
here all
yeah.
week. But
I'm
I
gonna
guess the
try
idea,
something today.
but I
It's
guess some
stuff
of these
like
exercises, using them as team building is really smart.
I think a lot of people's biggest fear when they start improv is like, what if I say something stupid? And pretty soon you realize, oh, you will. You're going to say a lot of things stupid. And here's the awesome part is that someone is there with you and they're going to hear that stupid thing and they're going to make it make sense. It's like the ultimate collaboration, the ultimate I've got your back. So it's such a bonding thing. And of course, you could use that in any office or like, yeah, people, real estate, whatever corporation, because it puts them in a mindset of, I'm not alone. I'm doing this with a team. And that relaxes your brain.
I think it's amazing. So this year, 50 years of Groundlings, which I cannot believe. Um, and I was thinking, and I wonder, Patty, what Gary, who started this whole thing back in 1974, what he would have make of the fact that what I said at the outset, that the Groundlings have been so like foundational when you think about American pop culture and you think about SNL, TV, movies, film, characters like Pee Wee Herman and all of these characters that have been born out of alumni that got their roots on the stage at the Groundlings. Do you think he had any idea?
He, I think, just followed his joy and what he thought was gonna be cool, and then the people were, like, attracted to that who also wanted to do that, and then that just, like, led to all of these different avenues, and the fact that, like you just said, we're still in it and passionate about it and talking about it, is kind of a miracle because actors have run this organization for 50 years, actors, and actors are out of their mind. Um, so it's truly like a little miracle that it still exists. And um, looking back at, you know, the pictures from the early days, like I see myself in those. And Allison, you probably feel that too. Like when the groups are like together and you're like, look at, they're just like in it, they're having fun, they're making each other laugh. And that's still what it is. And it's just, um, I don't, I don't think you could ever have imagined what, like, for instance, Pee Wee, he handed that suit to Paul Rubens, and Paul Rubens wore that suit to be Pee Wee. And then, like, I was watching that as a kid. And then that, like, imprinted on me this thing. And I was like, whatever that is, I want to do that weird thing. And then here we are, like, doing it. And it's just, I don't even think you can plan that kind of like impact you're going to have.
It's like you plant the seed and wait for the magic to happen, which is, again, kind of the spirit of improv, right? So the school exists and you can go, you don't have to just say, I want to be an actor, I want to be a comedic actor, I need to take an intensive course. You can do that at Groundlings, but also somebody who just wants to, like, I'm a little shy, or I just feel like I could get more comfortable speaking in public. You can just go to Groundlings, go to the website and do an intro class, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone can take class at the Groundlings.
And will
Hmm.
they'll feel something even in the first experience?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I think it's like, what is it, like a 6-week starter
That's
class,
amazing.
Patty, when they have like for like no,
Yeah.
because they have different tracks. You can be
Yeah,
like, look, I'm not here trying to be an actor. I want to do this for my life. And they'll have
yeah,
like a specific track of classes. And
yeah.
those classes are wildly popular.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, look,
Yeah.
I've been tempted. It may just be the time for me to do it. So before I leave you, I know, look at this, so excited. Can we do one of the things that you guys do? Can I be part of one? Can I do something with you right now?
Of
Yeah.
course.
Okay. I can't believe
Um,
I'm doing
Okay,
this.
let's see. What's a good
What
one?
what
what do
can you
we do?
tell
Should
me?
we do an expert talker?
Oh,
And we can do
Yeah.
like a 3-person panel.
okay.
Um,
Yes.
oh my gosh,
Explain
Patty,
how
help me
this
think of
works.
something. Okay, so we're gonna say something that we have to make sure none of us have any clue about what it really is.
Okay.
And then we're gonna talk like together, like we're a panel giving a speech about it as experts, just making it all up.
So we would usually get a suggestion.
If you can think of something, Patty, give us a suggestion.
You two are an expert in um, orchestral performance.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm,
Well,
mhm.
do it with us, Patty, okay?
Okay, I'll do it with you.
Okay.
Except wait, I know about that.
Oh, you do?
Um,
Okay. That's why I was like, it's hard to think of something like you're like, it's lots of things I don't know about.
okay, what about like tree frogs? Tree frogs.
Great. Michaela, are you
That
an
feels
expert
like
on tree
safe.
I know
frogs?
nothing about a tree frog.
That's pretty,
Okay,
that's
great.
safe. Okay,
Okay.
so we're like the leading experts in tree frogs.
Mhm,
So, welcome to our symposium today. I'm here with Michaela and Patty, who have just come back from an exciting voyage to study the life form and the life habits of the ever so slippery tree frog.
mhm, mhm.
That,
It's fascinating to me to be here with you all. It was worrisome to me when I was told
mhm.
that we would have to go up the tree
So
to see
Yes.
worrisome.
these frogs
Mhm,
in their natural habitat. But
mhm,
my partner, Dr. Guggenheim, assured
Yeah.
me that it would be all right. I'm more of a ground lover, if you will. Dr. Guggenheim, thank you again for helping me overcome
Sure.
that hurdle.
You know, I got Michaela in a harness and we got her up that tree in the Amazon. And was
Mhm.
it slippery? Yeah. Did she bust her toe on a branch? Yes.
She sure
But
did. She
was it
sure did.
worth it? Was it worth it?
Absolutely.
Yes.
My
Mhm.
Because
podiatrist
we
says
saw
so.
the potato, yeah. The what we saw with our own eyes
Mhm.
was the McGonagall species.
Yes, the McGonagall species, which is the McGonagall species, as we all know, is the one that lives at the tippy top of the trees
Yeah.
in the Amazon, which is why no one has studied them.
Again,
Nobody
I don't
studied it.
know exactly why I was chosen, being the heaviest of the three of us, to go to the tippy top of the tree. But again, with Dr. Guggenheim's support, she hoisted me up on her narrow shoulders to the very tippity top with my broken toe.
Well, Michaela, it's because you're the most observant. So
Mm.
please
You're the
dig
most,
us
your
in.
eyes.
The McGonagall mating ritual. What was the
Mm.
first thing you noticed about it?
The noise, the
The
noise.
The
noise.
noise.
The
And I
noise. Oh
heard that
my God. The
you can
noise.
replicate it better than anyone I've ever heard in my
Well,
whole
it
practice. Yes.
unfortunately it blended with my own screams of being so high in the air. To my earlier point, not being one very comfortable with heights,
Right.
the
Uh-huh.
screams coming from my own face, mixed with the sounds of the McGonagall frog. So I'm not
Yes.
really able to tell you which was which.
Well, that's what was so fascinating, is
It
that
was a
the
cacophony.
McGonagalls were reaching their climax as Michaela was seemed to be falling backwards off a branch. But thank God for that harness. And as she was tumbling, I just heard,
So
Oh,
how does it work when you guys get to the end? Like, is there somebody offside that yells "scene"? Does everybody
yeah.
just bust up? Like, well, how does it end? Or do I
someone,
fall from
your
the tree?
director will say scene, or they'll signal for the lights to
Yeah.
go out or whatever.
The
Oh
director in
my
a
god!
show or when you're in a class, your teacher will, start
How did that
clapping and then
feel? You were
If
great,
you know what
Michaela.
I
How
gotta
did that
tell
feel?
you, I have to tell
you were
you, I
great.
really get what you mean about just play. Like, I don't care. It was silly, it was ridiculous, and I didn't know anything about what I was talking about, and I was making it up on the fly. But how fun to do it with two other people who are like right there with you, not gonna let you fall, are ready to respond to whatever insanity you come up with, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And are just as joyfully present for it. Like that's a very cool feeling, and I don't know that we get that in life very often.
The thing about because I could sense like we were all trying not to laugh, and then it's like hopefully you have an audience is laughing, and Patty knows this about me. Like I've gone through a couple of existential crises in my life where I go, okay, what am I doing? Am I doing anything important? Like because I want to make a difference, like we all do. We all want to leave some
You don't
sort
want
of
to just come here to suck up oxygen, right?
exactly. And, laughter is really important. Sometimes I forget. And it's something like the pandemic reminded me, or, we'll get randomly, you'll get a letter at the Groundlings that's like, you know, I lost my mom. And the last thing my mom and I did together out in public is we came to your show and we laughed so hard at that thing you wrote about. And it's moments like that when you go, oh, we're not just idiots. I mean, we are idiots, but it's
But there's
important.
beauty and love and laughter in
Yeah.
that idiocy, right?
Yeah.
This thing called life is hard. It is not easy. It is beautiful. It
Mhm.
is tragic. It is
Yep.
difficult. It is joyous. It's all of those things. And I really believe, I've been a firm believer of infusing laughter in it where we can, as often as we can, to seek that joy, to seek that connection, that community. Because what you have here in the Groundlings and the subsequent communities that are created is community, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
This was so fun, and I
So
cannot
fun.
thank you both enough. Like, I
Oh,
just
thank
what a
you.
joy to put aside the pressures of life and just come here and just play with the two of you, and to hear your origin stories, and to be able to just mess around a little bit has just been a gift. Thank you so much, Allison. Thank you so much, Patty. Where can people find you, by the way? Groundlings.com, right? If you want to either take an improv class, find out about a team building thing you could do, that's a good place to start.
Yep, and we both have Instagram where we put
Yes.
what we're working on, or you can look
Yeah.
at my beautiful rescue dogs. Mine is Allison Dunbar is my handle.
Perfect. And
And
yours is
mine is Patrisket, like
Patty.
Trisket with a PA in front of it.
Trisket. I couldn't love it
Yeah,
more. You
Patrisket.
two are just joyful, and I am so grateful for time with both of you. Thanks so much for
Ditto.
making the podcast a delight today. And I'll be watching for both of you.
Thanks, Michaela.
Oh,
Pleasure was mine. And to
thanks.
all of you at home,
So
I hope
fun.
you got a lot out of this. It was a lot of fun for me, just being silly with the girls, and maybe check out an improv class. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe, tell a friend, and we'll catch you next time.